Now in my older age, I'm gardening on a much smaller scale. There's such a benefit in actually slowing down and looking at things, where you start seeing the geometry of everything in the plant world. There's so much number in it. And I used to think about that a lot, but now I'm just sort of rather, taking it in, trying to experience it as a being. What actually brought this about? This flower that's full of geometry and color, and the bees come to it, and how do they know, and all of this. It's just so clear to me that there's just wisdom everywhere. It's just a joy, too, and I have more time for joy, I think, when I slow down and look, not just race by everything. They used to say, smell the roses. It's like that. Just take a moment, lean over and smell the rose. How often do we just rush by things that are just so sweet and beautiful? And it's not just selfish to become more awake, because you change. You affect what now I would call the field, which I think is the most important science of our time, is field science. The field science is showing that everything is affecting everything else, because it's all in a field, it's all connected. Right from the furthest out of the stars right down to the smallest cell. I trained with this guy, W. Clement Stone, who had 17 success principles, and I wanted to find out what the 17th principle was, because it was called Cosmic Habit Force. And I won an award, so I got to talk to the guy, and he was getting old. He looked like a reptile. He looked me in the face and he said, that is being in tune with the universe. Cosmic habit force. Well, it's evolutionary. It's evolving, you know? And so I'm evolving with it, and it's changing over the years. I mean, when you see the impact of consistent caring, it just rewards. It's becoming more and more beautiful. The birds love it here. All kinds of stuff, volunteers, like you don't, we don't plant a lot of this stuff in the flower garden. It just comes. We don't know where it comes from. We had years when we had borage, and then we had years when we didn't have borage. We have years when there's mint everywhere, and other years when there's hardly any mint. In my experience, it's true that sometimes plants will grow that you need to see or be with. There's a whole flower essence world of how plants affect your emotions. So surrounding yourself with a diversity of colors and forms and shapes and tastes is so enriching. You can create this yourself on all different scales. That's what I love to think about. Hedges getting torn out to do monoculture. People don't realize the importance of hedges. The wind goes up and over the field and doesn't blow through the field because of the hedge, and that it creates a much more stable ecosystem there. And we're very well situated here on this hill. We've got a lot of what people call invasive plants. It's all a question of management, consciousness. It's not invasive, it's not invading. These are plants, they're innocent. My favorite saying all the time is resources appreciate in value when they're appreciated. We shouldn't be calling plants invasive, just appreciate them and see what they're good for and how they need to be managed. I like the title of a book called Vision in Action. I don't know if it's in print anymore, but it's a really interesting book on how Waldorf schools design themselves and built themselves with parents working together. You just follow your intuition and you follow the lay of the land and you listen and you just start doing it. And in that process, when you're in action, you're getting a sense all the time what wants to be here. And Jenny was basically it was all her design. She has such an intuition for plants, and she likes to keep changing it. She's working with it all the time. It's like a community. Like she'd ask me to dig them up and move them. She does that a lot. And then other stuff starts joining the party. It's like stuff comes up that she doesn't even know what it is. We had a group of very, vital, growing, strong, tall plants that were getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and there was no flower on them, and she didn't know what it was. And our son said, I think those are going to flower. And it got to be August, this huge, beautiful group of flowering yellow plants in the fall. And they've been with us ever since. We didn't plant them, but we've planted them into the garden because they showed up. Well, the hoop house wasn't there. The garden was half the size initially, and then I used cardboard to get the rest of the lawn to die and become part of the soil. We expanded the garden. Hillside leaning south, which is also ideal, so it catches the sun really well, and the greenhouse is on the same hillside. And then now we had a way to start things in the greenhouse when it was cold and keep things growing in the fall when it was getting cooler. So it added to our capacity, and some years we have vegetables all year round. It depends a lot on how cold it gets. But we've had years when we've had things like kale and even lettuce and arugula and things like that growing right through the winter. So it's a really nice climate here. It's not too hot, and it's hot enough to have two gardens basically, one in the spring and early summer and one in the late summer and fall. And if you're lucky, you might have some in the winter. We've always supplemented it with the farmers markets, which you went with me this morning. It's so rich here. There's so much community spirit, and I like to go there even if I don't need anything. But I generally have some things that I can supplement what we have here with things that are just nice to have. The first year I grew sweet potatoes, and I had put a shade cloth over the whole garden. There was no watering system or anything. We planted the sweet potatoes kind of late, and it was in June. That year, when we came back from vacation and dug up the sweet potatoes, they were huge. And I think that was the first crop in new garden beds. And I think a lot of times you get some release of stuff that's been tied up for decades in the soil, and it suddenly has all these roots coming into it, and it just releases. So you get a bigger crop. So that was probably the best sweet potato crop. After that, we've had trouble with groundhogs. I call them woodchucks from the north. That's what we call them. And different creatures coming in. Last year, we didn't get a sweet potato crop because something was eating them all the time, and you never really had a chance. We finally caught a skunk. Basically, that year, people don't know it, but we just ate the leaves because there were always leaves coming back, and it's a really good green and very prolific. This year, I was prepared. And I put the trap out. I knew how to trap with an apple and a chunk of Skippy peanut butter, but I don't buy Skippy peanut butter for myself. It's only for traps. It's got sugar and salt, and it's not good for humans really, but animals get so attracted by it. And almost right away I caught a groundhog, took him to where I've taken 8 groundhogs. Next to a swamp, it's no houses around, and it's just a beautiful place for them. I call it groundhog heaven. And I swear I've caught 6 skunks so far this year. And the sweet potatoes look so good. And every skunk is just fascinating to me. I looked up the totem, what's the meaning of a skunk, and I found it has to do with self-esteem and confidence. They don't worry about anything. They're playful. They're not scared of anything. Nobody really wants to go near them because they get sprayed with this horrible stink. They know how to attract their lovers with the same smell. They really have a very confident sense, and it makes me feel more, because I've had this relation with so many skunks this year. It's about creating borders, knowing your space, knowing what you can do with confidence, and not being afraid of offending people, being yourself. I thank the skunks for teaching me that. This year, because I'm hand watering everything, it takes longer, but I'm picking the bugs off. I'm seeing them as part of the ecosystem. And that's part of the field too. Where do they come from? How do they know that you have squash plants? And you get bugs that like squash plants. How does the Colorado, it's supposed to be from Colorado, potato beetle, always show up with potatoes? This year I haven't seen any, and I think it's because I have them really tight next to the cucumbers. And this kind of thing confuses them. I'm happy in it, I think, yes, as I get older, and I'm reminded of this often by, my wife, and people are concerned about me because I'm getting older, and, will I be able to handle you have to be a little bit acrobatic when you have companion plantings that are growing over each other, and these hills, and they're different shapes, and there's no straight lines. It takes a little bit of nimbleness to get around. I find it more fun. I just enjoy being in it. I have this balance issue right now, which is making me even more aware of how we're dancing all the time. My wife and I, Jenny, and I took some dancing classes, and I really liked this teacher who said, you're just walking. I'm just telling you how to walk in rhythm with the music. If you turn that around, when we're walking, we're actually dancing. When you're having trouble with your balance, you become more aware of, oh, that's a move. I have to make this move. If it's just straight lines, it's less interesting. If it's on a flat area, it's less interesting to me. I like challenges and difficulties, I guess. It makes life more rich to me. I'm not just a plain maintainer. I'm much more of a pioneer, and I like trying new things out all the time too.
Keep coming.
Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. I'm still going to keep trying new things, even if my old new things work well. I might still try to see what else I could do differently.